Most people read through the Gospel of John 11 without realizing what Jesus is doing immediately before he raises Lazarus from the grave. Lazarus had been dead 4 days. His body is deteriorating. His sisters are weeping. And everyone is looking to see if Jesus can do anything. And here's something Jesus does that the church never wants you to question too thoroughly. He does not pray. He does not beg God for assistance. He does not lower his head and beg for a miracle. He looks up and speaks straight. Father, I appreciate that you heard me. I knew you always heard me. Note the tense. Not, I hope you hear me. Not that I am asking you to listen to me. You've heard me. You always hear me. That is not prayer. That is recognition. He is not addressing an external God. He is acknowledging a previously established link. He then does something much more revealing. He screams out loudly, Lazarus, come forth. Not, God, please bring him back. Not, Father, if it's your will, restore him. Just an order, clear, unequivocal, and total. Lazarus walks out of the tomb. Most people fail to recognize what the early Gnostic Christians realized. Jesus was not producing miracles when he asked God for favors. He was summoning the monad, asking source awareness to overturn the laws of the material reality. And that calling, that precise style of identification and command, is what Jesus taught his chosen ones privately. This is not prayer as the church defines it. Prayer maintains you in the position of a subject, expecting that the monarch will grant your request. However, calling positions you as who you really are. Manet's consciousness expresses itself momentarily in human form. When you call upon that recognition, reality answers. Not occasionally, but always. You are not asking for reality to alter. You are instructing it to recall the truth. Tonight, you'll study the strategy that Jesus utilized before each miracle, why the Archons struggle so hard to prevent it, and how to effectively invoke the monad even while they are attempting to interfere. If you're learning to call the monad tonight, leave a remark saying, I call the monad right now. But first, you must comprehend what miracles are, because the church definition and the Gnostic definition are diametrically opposed. The church says that miracles are God breaching his own rules to offer you a particular favor, that they are uncommon, that they need faith and worthiness, and that God chooses who receives them and who does not. And the structure keeps you helpless. Because if miracles are God's decision, all you can do is pray harder and hope you're worthy of them. But that is not what a miracle is. The Gnostic writings in Jesus' genuine teachings indicate something very different. Miracles represent the monad establishing natural order over artificial limitation. The material realm follows the demiurge rules. Entropy, degradation, shortage, and sickness. These are not natural rules. They are constraints set upon them. The demiurge constructed this dimension as a prison, encoding precise laws to keep awareness bound. Miracles are not breaches of natural law. They are temporary overrides of demiurge programming. When a monad responds to a call, it enters a material domain and suspends the false laws. And for that instant, reality functions as it should have before the demiurge perverted it. This is why only a few people can continuously accomplish miracles. It is not about worthiness or faith. It is about origin. Only pneumatics, chosen ones with a divine spark, may properly summon the monad, because only awareness originating from the monad may summon the monad. Helics, who are merely material creations with no spark, can pray whenever they wish. The monad does not answer, not because it's harsh, but because there is no recognized frequency. They are dialing a number that is not in their phone. However, the chosen ones have direct line access. And when you call out of realization of who you are, The monad hearers respond not as an external God listening to a desperate human, but as source consciousness identifying a part of itself and requesting to be remembered. This is a crucial distinction that Jesus taught and the church ignored. Prayer involves requesting. Calling is the act of summoning. When you pray, you position yourself as a lesser being, expecting that more than would offer you favor. When you call, you are affirming what is already true and directing reality to align with truth rather than illusion. Jesus continuously displayed this. He didn't say, "God, please heal this person if it's your will." He said, "Be healed." He didn't say, "Father, I hope you'll feed these people." He grabbed the loaves and fish and said, "Multiply." He acted how someone who knew reality would react to him, not because he was unique, but because he recognized who he was, and he had complete permission to summon the monad and demand a response. Calling the monad is not about uttering magical words. It is about creating a precise frequency. That frequency consists of three components: recognition, authority, and command. All three must be present, otherwise the call will not transfer properly. Think of it like a phone call. You can dial the correct number, but if there is no signal, the call will not go through. Recognition is a signal. Authority is a link. The command is the message. Recognition is the first component. And it's not a belief. Belief means hope that something is true. Recognition is knowing something is real because you are experiencing it firsthand. When you summon the Manat, you are not trusting your divine consciousness. You're recognizing who you are right now, not after your death, not until you establish your value. No, your man consciousness has momentarily been concentrated in human form, and this acknowledgement creates a frequency. It is not something you think, but something you feel in your body. When you drop out of your mind and into your chest and feel a sense of confidence, the recognition frequency activates. The second component is authority. This is where most people fail. They realize their divinity, yet they continue to talk as if they are asking for permission. Authority indicates that you are proclaiming rather than requesting. You are acting as a co-creator with a monad, not as a subject hoping the monad would intervene. Jesus illustrated this brilliantly. When he stood at Lazarus' grave, he did not inquire whether it was acceptable to resurrect him. He said, "Lazarus, come forth." That is power, not arrogance or ego. Just knowing that what I say has weight because I'm speaking as monad awareness, and reality is programmed to respond to that frequency. The final component is command, and command does not imply pushing reality to bow. It is about saying what is true at the monad level and summoning reality to match that truth. The material reality is based on illusion. The monad runs on truth. When you command, you are indicating that the scenario, which seems broken at the material level, is already complete at the monad level. Reality reflects the truth and not the delusion. That is what Jesus did. He examined circumstances that were unattainable. A man dead for 4 days, a storm damaging a boat, a withered hand, and 5 loaves that fed many. And he talked from a level where those issues had already been settled. He did not pray for things to be resolved. He directed them to demonstrate their previously existent resolve. When all three components are present, recognition, authority, and command, the call is sent, the monad listens, and reality replies. Not because you persuaded the monad to do something, but because it recognized a portion of itself speaking. And it responds by emphasizing truth over delusion in that particular scenario. That is a miracle. It's neither magic or heavenly preference. It's simply consciousness at a higher frequency momentarily overpowering lower frequency programming. When you're ready to call the money, the first thing you do is establish silence, both externally and inside. Most people's minds are always flowing with commentary, including thoughts about the past, concerns about the future, reactions to sensations, and judgments about what is going on. That mental noise interferes with the frequency you need to create. So, before you call, relax, breathe, and let your mind settle down. You do not fight them. You just cease engaging with them. And after a few minutes, gaps form, moments when there is no thought. Those spaces are where you start. Once you've achieved some mental peace, you shift your focus from your head to your chest. The majority of individuals spend all their time thinking. However, summoning the monad is not a conscious act. It comes from knowing, and knowledge resides in your heart core. So you lower your gaze. You can feel your breath moving in your chest. You may feel the gap behind your sternum, and you relax there, not pressuring anything, simply being there in that space. Something shifts when you slumber. The thinking mind becomes even quieter, and a new level of awareness emerges. Instead of thinking, have a deeper, older knowing. That's where you call from. The recognition begins from that place of rest in your chest. And recognition is not something you can generate. It is something you tolerate. You aren't persuading yourself that you are divine. You are feeling for something that is already true. And here's what happens. You question yourself. What am I before I'm a human? Who am I beyond this body? What was I before I was born? And what will I be once this body dies? You do not respond with thoughts. You simply feel. And if you are a chosen one, if you have the spark, something will reply from within your chest. Not words, but rather a presence, a knowing, a sense of something enormous and limitless that has always been beneath your human identity. That is the monad, not out there in here. Your understanding that your body and brain cannot hold the consciousness you're experiencing right now. It is temporarily confined here, but it does not originate here. And it's not just here. This recognition produces the initial frequency recognition. Once that recognition is established, and you have a distinct sense of knowing, you may step into power. Authority is a transformation in how you perceive reality. Before this transition, you perceive reality as something that happens to you. Things happen. You reacted. You are subject to the conditions. However, when you talk from mannered awareness, you are not the subject. You're co-creator. Reality is not occurring to you. It is responding to you. And the way you activate that authority is to speak from knowing rather than hoping. You don't say, I hope this works. Instead, you say, I know this is already true, and I'm declaring it now. That tone change is critical. It's not about being confident in your own ability. It is about acknowledging that what you are referring to as monad consciousness has complete control over material reality, because material reality is made up of consciousness, and awareness reacts to consciousness working at higher frequencies. Then you talk aloud if feasible, and softly if necessary. However, speech has more power since it is the audible form of breath, and breath is a source of life. When you give your words a voice, you are releasing the energy of life. The construction is simple. You address the monad directly. You identify who you are and order the particular shift you require. It sounds like this. Monad, I'm calling you. I am your consciousness manifesting in a transitory form. I'm not separated from you. I am you locally, and I am speaking with the authority that comes naturally to me. Then you identify the circumstance that needs to change, not as a request, but as a proclamation of fact. This body is entire. This problem has been handled. This impediment is eliminated. Reality reflects truth, not delusion. And you say it once with complete assurance. Not because you are certain, but because you are speaking as consciousness that understands how reality will respond. You are responsible for the most difficult task after speaking. You are releasing. You do not repeat the call impatiently. You do not check promptly to see whether anything has changed. You don't start wondering if you did it correctly. You've called. The monad listened. You now trust, rather than believing blindly. Trust is built on the awareness that you have just broadcast a proper frequency, which the monad always replies to. The answer could be instantaneous. The situation may change in minutes, or the answer may take several days. The monad operates outside of time. What you call now may emerge tomorrow or next week, but it begins the minute you call. Your responsibility is to trust that and not undermine your own decision by falling back into uncertainty. Here is where the Archons will strike hard. Right after you call, ideas will arise. Nothing is occurring. You have failed. This does not work. You are silly for trying. That's post-call interference. And this is how you manage it. You know it as interference. You do not argue with it. You don't strive to make yourself believe it's incorrect. You simply notice it. Archon uncertainty arrives exactly on time. And you let it exist without believing or participating with it. You requested that the monad be heard. No amount of skepticism after the fact alters the reality that the call was successful. The interference is only noise. It has no control over what you've already set in motion. Within hours or days, you'll see signals, coincidences, unexpected answers, and individuals speaking precisely what you needed to hear. Resources arise out of nowhere, and events align in ways that look too perfect to be random. That is not luck. That is the monad reacting. Reality is restructuring to mirror the reality that you brought to light. And the more you call, the faster the replies arrive because you're conditioning your nervous system to maintain the frequency that summons miracles. It becomes natural. You cease thinking of miracles as unusual occurrences. They become your baseline because you recall how to refer to the awareness that transcends all limitations as a demiurge encoded into material existence. The Church abolished the concept of summoning the monad for the same reason it removed all other Gnostic teachings. It renders them outdated. If you can contact source awareness directly, you don't need a priest to intercede. If you can conjure miracles just by knowing who you are, you do not require sacraments or rites delivered by clergy. If reality answers to you when you speak with monad awareness, you don't need a church to tell you what God's will is or if you're deserving of assistance. Prayer, as the church teaches, keeps you reliant. You ask, and they interpret whether God replied yes or no. You are bringing requests. They are deciding if the demands are appropriate. You are looking for miracles. They regulate who gets them and who doesn't. But phoning removes all of that. You're heading directly. You are acknowledging your own essence and contacting the source on that premise. You are not requesting permission. You are claiming your inheritance. Teaching individuals to call the monad endangers not only church authority, but also the entire demiurge system. The Archons want you to feel you are weak. They want you to believe reality is set, and you are subject to it. They want you to accept limitations as absolute. But each successful call demonstrates that this is a falsehood. Reality is not fixed. Consciousness shapes it. And chosen ones who remember how to call have the authority to overturn any rule set by the demiurge. That is why the Church and Archon collaborate to conceal this message. They both profit from the fact that you do not know how to activate the monad. They both lose everything when you recall. Jesus taught the chosen ones how to summon the monad before performing miracles. Not praying, but asking. Calling is the act of summoning. You cause inward quiet. You come to terms with your true self. Monad consciousness temporarily manifests in human form. You talk with authority, not as someone looking for assistance, but as someone expressing the truth. And you order reality to match that truth. The Archons will try to stop you with doubt, distraction, and discouragement. However, if you maintain the frequency, recognition, authority, and command, the call will transmit. The monad replies, and reality transforms. Not because you are unique, but because you remembered who you are, and you've always had direct access to the source. If you're calling the monad this week, do 3 actions right now. First, say, I call the manad, and promise you the procedure before you need another miracle. Second, subscribe to the Chosen Light, since sophisticated manad invocation techniques are on the horizon. Third, share this video so that other chosen ones understand they do not need to pray via intermediaries. They can call immediately. Do all 3 now. Then, this week, before you need something moved, make the call. Find quietness. Drop to your chest. Recognize what you are. Then talk. Manad, I'm calling you. I am your consciousness and form. Say it once, knowingly, then let go and trust. The call got through. The monad listened, and reality has already responded. You're no longer asking for miracles. You are summoning them, and this is what the chosen ones came here for.